originally, what I wanted to do today was I learned something else about trimming from the bars from the SwedishHoofSchool.com, and talking about asymmetries in hoof walls. This right here, I have Cat Dancer's hoof that I'm going to do a few things to. Mainly I want to get it out and trim the bars according to the directions that this gal gives, because she tells you to start with the cadaver hoof, of course, which I've got here. And but there was just some things I wanted to share with people, because I've gotten a couple letters. You know, originally I had about 6-7 months ago, maybe not quite, I put on some videos called Trimming from the Top, where I showed what I've been doing. Well, and then I took those videos off. The reason that I took those videos off is because I learned some more that taught me that you should never, ever rasp off this hoof wall, ever. When you're doing a trim, doing a Mustang roll, the most you should ever take off is just around the bottom here, to do a short bevel from about here or so down. Anytime you have a farrier or a natural hoof trimmer, barefoot trimmer, anything like that, telling you to rasp down this wall to get rid of a flare, I'm telling you folks, I beg you, run the other direction. When I first started trimming, I went by Gene Ovanek's method and Jamie Jackson's, and Gene Ovanek said, yeah, you can rasp from about 1/3 of the hoof wall down to get a flare off. He said, but if you do a Mustang roll, it'll do the same thing. And so I never rasped the hoof wall down. I always just did a Mustang roll. Well, then as I got more into natural hoof care and barefoot trimming, I started reading other people's websites and books, and you know, I happened to be on Pete Ramey's site, and I got connected with a thing called Trimming from the Top, which was the title of those videos, and I started trimming that way. Well, to make a long story short, that isn't Pete Ramey's trim. That trim comes from ironfreehoof.com and was developed by a couple other gals. Well, I started doing that trimming from the top, and basically compared to some of the people I've seen doing it on YouTube, I was conservative in what I rasped down of this wall. You know, I thought something bothered me. You know, after I started this trim, I started fighting flares on my horse's hoof, on the outsides. And on some other horses I was doing, I was fighting flares all the time. And after a year, you know, you'd think that being into natural hoof care, natural trimming, it's also great, that you wouldn't have any flares. I mean, I'm a trimmer, I shouldn't have any flares, and this was really bothering me. And anyway, you know, I'd studied about the hoof wall and stuff like that, but some things just didn't dawn on me. And finally, when it dawned on me that this outer wall with the hard part of the keratin, like rebar, lots of rebar and cement, holds this hoof in place and together and in shape. Okay, when that dawned on me, and it dawned on me that I was taking off the bottom part of the strength of that hoof, and as the horse walked, pushing down, it pushed from the inside out into a flare. Okay, and my hooves started getting deformed, and I mean, weird things just started happening with my horse and some other horses I was doing. Now, it wasn't bad if you're already working on a horse that didn't have flares to begin with, you know, but that trim so weakens the hoof wall from this part down that you get what's called asymmetries in the hoof. Now, my horse is wider on the outside, and he didn't have long bars, but his whole hoof is pushed over this way and wider than it is on the inside, and that is from that trim. And if you want to go and search out on YouTube and watch some different people do trimming from the top, you're going to see them just butcher the top of this hoof wall. Now, I never ever rasped the top of this wall. I might take off some toe with the big teeth of the rasp, you know, like that. But anytime I rasp down this hoof wall, even doing that trim from the top, I use the smooth part of the rasp. But you're going to see people taking the heavy part of the rasp. You see, you got the big teeth, and then you got the small teeth. You're going to see people taking this heavy part of the rasp and just rasping down that hoof wall like that. And you're also going to hear them say things like, oh, this horse has feet that grow weird, or oh, she has a flare on this side, or blah, blah, blah. You see, I'm not condemning them, but what I'm telling you is that this trim, that trimming from the top, where they rasp down the hoof wall like this, okay, till you see white clear around here, is doing damage to those hooves. So I'm here to warn you, please, 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 don't make the same mistake I did. Please learn about the anatomy of the hoof wall, how you have to keep that outer strength of that hoof wall together to keep that hoof contained and in shape and strong. Oh, you know, and there's some things we don't think about. You see, there's some things that were practiced in what I call farrierism, you know, where people go to schools and everything, learn to be blacksmiths and horseshoers. There's some things that have been practiced for hundreds of years, have become tradition, and a lot of the people coming over into barefoot natural hoof care were farriers before. And so when they went to farrier school, they learned to put a shoe on and then rasp down the whole foot like this to make it look pretty on the shoe, you know. And that's why you see so many horses that wear shoes that have totally deformed feet, because this outer hoof wall is meant to contain this hoof into a certain shape. It's rock hard. You know, it also keeps water out and it keeps water in. And that's why you also find these people, they're doing trimming from the top, will tell you that their horses' feet fall apart in the wet season. Well, my horse's feet never fell apart in the wet season till I started trimming from the top like that. Now, by trimming from the top, I don't mean just because you start with your horse's hoof on a hoof stand and you start from the top. I mean, this is a specific trim that's called trimming from the top, where they set that foot on that hoof stand and then start rasping down like with the wall like this until they get white clear up around here, and you got softened hoof wall showing clear up in around here, and it weakens the whole hoof. It causes internal flares coming out. Now, if you were to start from the top on a hoof stand, okay, and you were to just take this part, you see the difference here? How I'm going like that? Okay? Now that's different, say, how I'm taking off the very edges around. That's different than going with the wall like this. Going, see how I'm coming up and taking off that hoof wall up there? And they're using this part of the rasp, and I was taught never, even before I knew anything about anything, you never use the heavy part of the rasp on this part of the wall. Now, if I had an extra long wall and I wanted to take down the edges like so, see how I'm just taking down the edge like that? See?